Thank you everybody for your presence today. I know that as the trimester winds down, everybody has their focus and aspirations on various projects, and the fact that all of you are here today to be around a magnificent couple individuals, I'm so excited for all of us to be in this collective together. Why I'm standing up here on the platform is because both of these individuals have a profound presence in my life. The first speaker is somebody that I met in undergrad here at Parker, and it's just something about him. Whenever he walked in the room, I was just like, who is this man who's so put together and knows himself and is willing to sit in the front of the class whenever he came in the second half of our class. So he already knew that he was coming into a really competitive program, and he had to assert himself just a little bit further to make sure that his intentions were known to the whole program. From undergrad, he never wore anything less than a suit and a tie, because he knew that if he wanted to be, as Dr. Jim says, acting as if, he was going to have to bring in that whole embodiment of what a chiropractor is. Once he graduated from chiropractic school, he spent some time practicing internationally in Peru, and then came back and immediately opened his own space in Union City, California, and has since expanded himself to be a professor at Life College of Chiropractic West, coaching a basketball team, and just recently owning his first juice bar. So somebody who knew that success was already in his mindset and it just had to come through the skin. Please stand up on your feet and give a warm Parker welcome to Dr. Darrell Blackburn.
Everybody, you have a pen and paper? I'll give you my address, phone number, social. I think it's the only thing he didn't say. So, like Jared said, I'm back. I never thought I would be, honestly. I love this place, but I kind of strayed away from Parker as far as where I'm from. As far as I'm from California, I wanted to go back home. I went to Peru, practiced internationally. I knew I wanted to go back home, so I didn't know if I was ever going to make it back out this way, but I did, because you guys are important. So, like Jared said, I'm a busy person. I flew in on the red eye last night, or this morning, I guess, and I'm leaving first flight tomorrow morning. I just wanted to be here. Remember one thing, the universe always provides. I talked to Autumn a couple months back. She was like, hey, I had this opportunity. Would you like to speak with me? I'm like, of course I'd like to speak with you. When your mentor asks you to speak with him, you can't say no, really. So she said, okay, these are the 2 dates. Let me know which one works for you. I'm like, cool. Look at the dates. I'm like, great. I can't do either. I happened to commit to coaching a basketball team, the AAU 8th grade basketball team, transitioning into high school. Just wanted to mentor some kids. And they had a tournament in Vegas the second week of school. And the opportunity to speak was the first week of school and the third week of school. And I'm like, I can't miss 2 weeks in a row. I'm just getting started as a professor. It's been fun. And I'm like, dang it, I just can't do it. And that was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do is tell Autumn no, like, I can't do it. I was trying to figure out any way I could. And then she prints out a flyer, she puts it on Facebook, August 4th. Is August 4th or 5th?
5th.
5th, August 5th. And I'm like, August 5th? She didn't give me that date. But that's weird. I'm like, okay. And then a couple days go by, I'm like, wait a second, August 5th, they have something going on for Life West, that classes are canceled. I text her, I'm like, is it August 5th? She says, yes. Boom, I booked the flight right there, and now I'm here. So with that being said, there isn't anything that I wouldn't do for a chiropractic student, particularly a chiropractic student from Parker. Again, what you guys do, the potential you guys have is remarkable. I asked Autumn, what are we gonna do? After I agreed to speak, I'm like, what are we talking about? He said, I don't know, let Anae speak. I'm like, great, let's do it. He said, just remind them why they're here. I'm like, dang. I'm like, when I was in school, I don't know if I knew why I was there. I said, so what was it that really was a turning point for me to figure out the impact or the potential impact I could have on a community? And a side note, I'm an emotional dude, so if I start getting emotional, just wait a second, I'll be good. So I remember the most impactful experience I had was the first day that I got adjusted in the student clinic. At the time, they had a student clinic across the street to where one side was student clinic, the other side was outpatient. And as a first trimester, we would go get our intern, we'd have conversation. They'd, hey Lexi. They would do our history, right? And I'm like, okay. This guy started asking me all these questions, and then one of the questions was, how are your bowel movements? How are my bowel movements? What do you mean? Like, they're fine. And before that side note, I had never been adjusted before I got to chiropractic school, ever. I went to a chiropractor one time I was gonna go try out for some basketball team or something, and my mom was actually seeing a chiropractor for her low back. My dad was rehabbing a shoulder that he had just had surgery on. So completely unrelated things, and they were like, you don't have time to go to the doctor, come see our chiropractor, see if he can do anything for you. He rubbed some biofreeze on my leg, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he said, that's what chiropractors do. We help people without drugs or surgery. Cool. Sounds good to me. Like, what do you want to do when you get older? Like basketball? I don't know. He said, no, you should be a chiropractor. I said, okay. I said, you guys help people without drugs or surgery? I said, yeah. And he said, yeah. I'm like, cool. I'm like, and those are your cars outside? He said, yeah. And you're a doctor? Yeah. I'm like, cool, that's what I'll do. I went to college, I tell everyone I'm gonna be a chiropractor. Worked for a chiropractor for an entire year. He never adjusted me. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Like, rub some stuff on my leg. I followed this guy around in slacks and a polo, like what he wore, and that was it. And I came to chiropractic school. The first thing he asked me is how are my bowel movements. I'm like, what the heck does that have to do with anything? And then he said, well, do you have any animals? And at the time I had a dog, little Kobe. I'm a Laker fan. There you go, I heard the claps. So he's like, how often do you take them to the bathroom? I said, after every time they eat, duh, you know? Like, well, do you go to the bathroom after every time you eat? I'm like, no, why would I? He's like, well, isn't that normal? Like, I don't know, sure, whatever, right? Sure enough, organic chemistry. Like he said, I sat in the front row, even though I was late the very first 2 days. I'll never forget that. I was late the first 2 days, sat in the front row, but all of a sudden, like, I was regular, and I was like, man, this is weird. I never went to the restroom at school like this in my life, you know? Like, usually you wait till after school, till you go home, like, you're comfortable. I was like, man, I can't hold it. I have to go to the bathroom. So I go back to him, like, what's up with this? Like, how are you adjusting my back, and, like, things are starting to change in my body? And he was like, well, that's what chiropractors do. He said, we help people without drug or surgery, but the power that made the body heals the body, and everything's connected. And I'm like, yeah, what do you mean? So he shows me the autonomic nervous system. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. So, and then I started noticing other changes in my life. So I used to have asthma and allergies really, really bad, like to the point where I couldn't be outside for an extended period of time. I stopped playing soccer because basketball was more comfortable for me inside of the gym. And I'll never forget the last time I thought about taking allergy medication was like my first week of school. I took my brother over here to Malibu, the race place, and like I was having like this allergy attack, right? And ever since that day, I didn't take any medication, but that day was like the last time I've had like allergy symptoms of any type. And I'm like, man, this is so weird. Like, I know you could grow out of it, but I gotta figure out what's going on. So, talked to this guy some more, and then that was in my mind, allergies and asthma. And then all of a sudden, my mom's not here yet, she's on her way, she's always late too. So my mom had my little sister at the time, so I have an 8-year-old little sister, and she was on the nebulizer. Anybody with asthma in here? So she was on the nebulizer, and I'm like, man, that's not normal, she's only 6 months, you know, like 6 months old. Like, Mom, can we get her adjusted? Yeah, right, you know, not getting her adjusted. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You just started this, you're excited, whatever, like, relax. So I'm like, no, there has to be something more, you know, like, something helped me, let me try it with her. So I go talk to the pediatric teacher here at the time, ask her a few questions, go back, talk to my mom, long story short, she gets adjusted. She hasn't had a medication or anything in her body since 12 months, 14 months old, like right after she turned 1. And she's 8 years old now. So that was like, okay, that's cool. Like, how can I learn more about that? And then one of my mentors at the time, Gilles Lamar, said, if you ever find something in chiropractic school that you think you'll enjoy doing, find somebody doing it and go talk to them. Then I heard about this lady named Autumn. I'm like, okay, everybody goes to Autumn, like Wednesday night, whatever. Like, and I had like some friends that were like, oh no, you have to be ready before you go. Whatever, man. Like, so one day I walked into her office and I'm like, I see all these pregnant women and babies crawling around. I'm like, what the heck? Like, pregnant women? Like, what am I gonna do with the pregnant woman? You know what I mean? Like, how does this? And then she says, well, what's more important than someone who's growing a human being? Like, okay, like that makes sense, but how? And I watched and I was like, you know what? Like, this is really possible. I'm like, imagine the impact I could have on a family who's not even had a baby yet, developing a child, and then has the baby, and they could grow up better than me, my brother, and my other sister grew up, like my baby sister's growing up. Like, what a profound impact I could have on people. So what I did from there was, I developed a conviction of the impact chiropractic could have on people. And that wasn't, I hadn't dug into the science, I definitely didn't know anything about the art, but just the philosophy of chiropractic was starting to make sense. It was like, you know what? The power that made the body heals the body. There's something within us all that can actually help us express life more. So I'm like, okay, let me dig into this. So I started really getting into the science, so much that I wasn't really paying attention in class, so I wasn't doing well in classes. That's really why I started wearing a shirt and tie. So I'm like, I gotta change something. Like, sitting in the back of the class, shorts, hoodie, college basketball player, like that's not working here. Like I can't pass the test and save my life. I gotta keep going. So I changed all of that, and things started shifting in my life. I started to notice different changes in my life. And one of the biggest things that shifted in my life was the major premise. Don't say it, Jared. I know you're gonna say it out. Who in here knows the major premise? If you do, just say it out loud for me. What? Say it like you mean it, like you're a chiropractor.
Universal intelligence is in all things.
Is in all things? All right, come on. There's a universal intelligence in all matter, continuously giving to it its properties and actions, thus maintaining it in existence. Wow, what does that mean? That's so deep. And I'm like, okay. And then I go to the second one. The expression of this intelligence is the chiropractic meaning of life. I'm like, man, that's deep, you know? And I'm like, let me learn more about this intelligence, this matter, this expression. Like, what happens? Like, how does this happen? Well, that's when I really started digging down into the science, into the philosophy. And that's what really turned me on about chiropractic, is understanding that these principles, these chiropractic principles, aren't just the chiropractic meaning of life. It's life in general. Does that make sense? Like, life itself, the expression of life itself, only happens one way, from the inside out, right or right. Like, there's nothing from the outside of me that can make me better than what I already am inside.
Yes.
So thank you. So I asked Autumn, I said, are you ready? She said, I was born ready. I'm like, everybody is, right? We're all born ready until somebody tells us we're not. And like, oh, you need this. Oh, you have too much of this, let me cut it out. We're all born ready, but we've been told so differently. So what can we do as a profession to move that forward? That's the question that started bugging me. So then, and forgive me, I'm just kind of telling you guys my story, how I got along, because I wanted to let you know like what part of me really got me turned on to chiropractic, and when I realized why I was here. Not reminded because I never knew, but I was reminded, I figured out why I was here and the impact that I could have. So the biggest thing for me was chiropractic in business. And I was like, how can I be successful doing this? How can I articulate this to somebody else? Because again, just like I was talking to my mom about chiropractic, this thing that changed my life, that has me feeling better, I was telling everybody. They're like, oh yeah, that's good. And what you realize is you tell everybody all this stuff, they get really excited, you get to the health center, nobody comes in. If you haven't experienced it yet, you will, don't worry, you just gotta keep talking. But so I was talking to everybody, I'm like, I have to find a way to articulate this. Like, I have to find a way. I know that Dr. Jim said the money is a byproduct of service. I have to figure out how I can serve more people. And the only way I can do that is communication. So chiropractic is a art, philosophy, science, right? The science is the same across the board. You can look at Grey's Anatomy, you can look at medical, whatever. Science is going to be the same until we continue to evolve the science, right? And then the art, hey Courtney, and then the art is actually, we talk about the adjusting ninjas, right? You guys are adjusting ninjas in here? Are you adjusting ninjas? Yeah, strikes, all that stuff, that's good, right? But what if nobody comes in? So I realized, to me, the art was a communication of chiropractic. How can I artfully communicate this thing that I do now that's so great to me, but nobody has a clue about? How can I articulate that artfully to get them to understand it? And that's when somebody came around with the Talk to Tick sheet. Like, hey, do you want to sign up for Talk to Tick? I'm like, heck no, I'm not getting in front of people. Like, that's scary, right? And then I was like, you know what? Let me do it. Let me just see. At the time, Autumn knows there was this girl signing around the signing sheet. I'm like, I'm gonna do it because she's having me fill it out. No, let me check it out. So I remember the night before the Talk to Tick was the presentation was ready to be made. I sit down on my computer. I'm thinking to myself, I came from a completely allopathic background. I've taken allergy medication, I've taken asthma medications from as far back as I can remember. I'm like, how did I figure out, or what took me from where I was to where I am at the time? And that's what I did. I just put a couple pictures together. I was like, I went step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4. And I just let my passion speak through that. And then one level took me to the next. I ended up winning the whole thing. It's really not that big of a deal, I promise. But it gave me the opportunity to practice what I was gonna be doing for the rest of my life, or what I plan on doing for the rest of my life. And to me, that is the art of chiropractic, actually articulating what it is that you do. And then when we get into the philosophy, a lot of people don't understand, or a lot of people have the misconception that you could separate philosophy and business and chiropractic. You cannot okay, I take that back. You can do whatever you want to do. But you are not going to be as successful as you possibly can be, authentically yourself, if you separate the philosophy and business of chiropractic. First of all, you guys are extremely fortunate to be at Parker because, hey, you're extremely, I see a familiar face, I get more comfortable. You're extremely fortunate to be at Parker because Dr. Jim Parker, the more you learn about him, the more you'll realize how business savvy he was, and how that is such a vital role in chiropractic once you leave these walls. But what you also learn is that the philosophy and business of chiropractic can't be separated, because the philosophy is what makes us different, right? Everybody has some type of art. Everybody has to communicate what they do to portray value for somebody to pay them money for what they do. Everybody has an art of their profession, whatever that may be. Everybody has the same science that we're looking at. We may apply it differently, but it's the same science. The liver's gonna be on the same side, the heart's in the same place, it pumps the same way, right? But the philosophy, the understanding of how those things work together is what makes us different. The philosophy is what changed my life. The philosophy is what has the potential to change lives of others that are only viewing things from one perspective. That's all we have to do, is communicate a new perspective to people, get them to ask themselves questions, and you make yourself available for them when they're ready. Does that make sense? It's not our job to get them in the door. It's our job to provide them that opportunity to think and change the way that they think, and you make yourself available so that way, then the philosophy of chiropractic becomes a business. Does that make sense? So principle number 3 talks about the union of that intelligence and that matter. And we live in a society where we haven't even got to principle 4 through 33. We're on number 3. It talks about connection. And the society we live in is so disconnected, right? Like, there's matter and there's intelligence, but are they united? When you meet people, you can just see that you're staring at them in their eye, and you can see that there's something there that's just not fully expressing itself. right? And then people come into your office and they're just looking at you in your eyes and there's like something's not fully expressing itself. That union of intelligence and matter isn't happening. Then they find that, and then that turns into symptoms, right? That turns into symptoms. They go to a health provider and they give them something, and the funny thing is right now, it's not just medicine. There's so many things going on right now in the public and society where it's like they give them something to make them better. Whether it helps them mentally, emotionally, whatever it is, they're gonna give them something that's gonna make them feel like they're suppressing what they're feeling. So now they're disconnected and they're feeling less. So we're in a society of zombies, right? They're not connected and they're feeling less based on the stuff that they're putting into their bodies. I'm not talking about just that, I'm talking about food, I'm talking about what you drink, I'm talking about all of that stuff. Don't judge me, I just ate heartache because that's the first thing I do anytime I come to Texas. They don't have good barbecue in California. But what we put into our bodies is actually going to create that disconnection. And people don't understand that. But what's our job as chiropractors? Principle number 10. The job of force. The job of force, the function of force, is to unite intelligence and matter. And what do we do as chiropractors? Ninjas. We adjust, right? So we put in that force, allowing their body to connect and express more of themselves. Not anything less of what they're already doing, but expressing and feeling more of what they're designed to already express from birth. So right now I'm teaching a anatomy class. One of the labs that I teach is an anatomy class. And if I could go back and do school all over again, that is the one class I would pay attention to. Cadaver anatomy. If you get inside that body and you look at how closely related all of these things are, I say things because there's so many, there's just so much stuff in there. Just perfectly, just finagling it all the way around, and we have to get little probes, a little this and little that. And it's like, it just does it all by itself. Perfectly, and it functions at 100% at all times, based on its ability to organize. I think that's plus 22, something like that, right? So we always have this 100% intelligence in our bodies that's functioning at 100% based on its organization. And the organization at birth or during that first 9 months after conception is perfect. Do you guys get that? I think that's what really changed my mind in chiropractic, embryology. Like just learning how much happens in that first 9 months and how much has to happen perfectly for us to end up functioning, breathing, living. There she is, I told you. What time is it? And there's my sister without the drugs and surgery or medications. Yeah. I am my. So squirrel. It must be around 35 minutes. I only have like a 35-minute attention. But that's the idea that really shifted my thinking, is how perfectly we're put together and how perfectly all these things are happening in our bodies. And then I dig into the principles and I see the different functions of matter, the function of intelligence, the function of force. And I'm like, wow, like this is extremely profound. More people need to know this. How can I get people to understand this? And the hard thing is there are hundreds and hundreds of students who aren't here right now, right? Who aren't here right now that are taking a lot of this stuff for granted. And don't get me wrong, I took a lot for granted while I was in school. Taking a lot for granted as far as the perfection that's happening within us. But most importantly, the importance of our profession to unite that perfection with who they are, allowing them to express more. Does that make sense? So one of the biggest things when I teach right now, I teach an entrepreneur class. It's kind of fitting, I open a couple businesses, but it's for them to start to express themselves. They don't understand, or we don't understand sometimes as a profession, that the more you express you, the more liberated you are, the easier it is to tell somebody to do the same. Whether that's physically, chemically, emotionally, whatever that is. We're trying to unite that intelligence and matter so they can express more of them. But how can we do that if we're not expressing 100% of ourselves in our practice, right? We can easily learn. I could teach you exactly what I do right now. I promise you won't be as successful with my system as you would be with your system. You would be successful because success leaves footprints, right? But if you do exactly what you want to do, you take what you like from me, you take what you like from Autumn, you take what you like from Tom, but then you make it yours and change it up a little bit, you're going to be super successful. You're going to help so many people. But what happens is we want to do what other successful people are doing, right? We want to learn their system, do their system. And when we can get successful like that, we can. But we're not authentically expressing ourselves, and we're telling them that that's our job, is for them to express themselves. Does that make sense? You see the disconnect there? All the way back to number 3, right? Talking about connection. Third one. So what I learned is that, because me and Autumn had this talk a long time ago, like back when I was just a little baby in chiropractic, right? Like it was like, how come everybody wants to just do what you do? How come people get out and they're so frustrated, you know? I start to talk to people that are out there frustrated, and I'm like, oh, you want to be Autumn. That's what you want to do, but you're not Autumn, right? You're a little bit different. You could be as successful as all the other successful chiropractors out there, but you're not authentically expressing yourself, preaching the philosophy, preaching the principles about full expression. So we have to rewind it all the way back to that connection with ourselves. So how do we do that? How do we make sure that we are actually expressing ourselves? We design a business plan, we design a plan, we develop something that is authentically us. You visit as many chiropractors as you can. Take what you like, leave what you don't. You don't have to agree with everybody. Like Jared said, I practice out of the country. I'll tell you one of the worst experiences of my life. I lived someplace else, it was fun, blah, 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 but the chiropractic part, it was the worst experience of my life because I wasn't expressing who I was. I was making money, lots of money, that was good, but there was just something in me that was just not allowing me to express myself. I was like locked up, right? So what happens is you put yourself in a position to express yourself, might not be making as much money, but you're fulfilled. And then, like Dr. Parker says, money is a byproduct of service. You start serving more people, and more people, and more people. And they feel like they're expressing themselves, which is probably a first, because not a lot of places feel like they can express themselves. So again, your job is to find out who you are. Your job is to fully express yourself through your systems, authentically who you are, giving other people the permission to do the same thing. Could you imagine if you lived in a society where everybody felt comfortable with who they are? Everybody was comfortable expressing 100% of who they are, what they do, what they're comfortable with, what kind of businesses would be ran. So I challenged my entrepreneur class. I told them one of the projects that's on the syllabus is to go to a chiropractor and ask them a ton of questions, like simple chiropractic questions. How did you develop your system? What do you like? What would you change? Like little things like that. I said, since I'm new to this class, we're going to scratch that assignment, and I'm going to challenge you to go to a small business that you already go to. Now, you don't have to go out and meet somebody new, but go to a small business and ask them those questions outside of chiropractic. Because honestly, as a chiropractor, we should be going to as many chiropractic offices as possible, figuring out what we like, what we don't like. And then take that, make it your own. But if you go to another business outside of chiropractic, you're gonna get a completely different perspective. All of us in here, we drink the Kool-Aid, right? Like, philosophy, woo, Like, that's what we do. But have a conversation with somebody who doesn't think like us. There was somebody in my class, Marty Lane, I'll never forget, Marty Lane. Just got out of medical school, was in our class, hated chiropractic pretty much, literally. Just anytime anybody said anything philosophical, he just shot it down. And I'm the little philosophical kid that's just learning. I have regular bowel movements. I don't have asthma. Like I'm ready. We go on breaks. Like he sit on the couch. I won't even walk to that bathroom. I'll go to the other. We just didn't like each other. And then finally we had a conversation one day. And we're like, man, I learned a lot from this conversation. He's like, yeah, I did too. Tell me more. So we get to talking. Long story short, he ends up speaking to the philosophy club before we leave on his perspective. So I'm like, you know what, guys? I learned so much from him. Not being a philosophy guy, thinking that you can just do business and move bones and make tons of money, which again, it's possible. But again, if that's authentically who you are, and we learned so much from him. And now he's up in Washington running the most philosophical practice you could imagine. It's kind of funny. But because we all come around, we realize what's different about chiropractic. We realize what works in chiropractic. We realize why people come back to chiropractic. And that's what it's about, right? Actually making a difference in your community. How do you make a difference in your community? Question people, allow people to question their thinking already. Shifting a paradigm, right? There's a lot of catchwords we hear when we go to these seminars, right? When they want to sell you their system, right? Like, let's shift the paradigm, let's change the world, right? But you're not changing yourself, you're being more like them. So it just, never mind. But I don't want to be starting. But that's the point. The point is to be authentically who you are. Allow yourself to be authentically, give yourself the permission to be okay with who you are. Allow yourself to learn the art of chiropractic, whether that's the communication, whether that's the adjustment. If you open your doors and you're out there communicating, you better be able to deliver a good adjustment. You better be able to deliver results. I'm not saying that's not important at all. What I'm saying is that don't forget that an art of chiropractic is also communication, articulating what's important to you, articulating what makes you different, and articulating why what you do is extremely valuable to not just them, but their kids, their family, their friends, and understand what kind of impact that can have on your community. And when you get out there and you focus and you set the goal of making an impact on your community, you will be amazed at how much money you can make in a very short period of time. Because you're helping so many people, and the adjustment is exponential. The adjustment is global, right? We have a global effect. We could just move the atlas, and it changes everything in the body, right? So if you change one person, or you allow one person to express themselves, you just change an entire family. That family just changed an entire block, and now you're changing your community. Does that make sense? Just remember that the chiropractic adjustment is exponential, both internally and externally, because you're shifting the way people think, and you're changing conversations, and you're bringing more people into your office, allowing you to live the life that you deserve to live because you are changing your communities. Again, don't be afraid of money. Money's a byproduct of service. Focus on service, and the money will come. I promise. I promise. I'm getting out of credit card debt now. I promise. So just understand that your life is designed to be authentically who you are. As a chiropractor, you are designed to use the force of an adjustment to unite intelligence and matter, allowing people to fully express who they are. When people fully express who they are, you're having an exponential change in your community, and from there, you're doing your job to humanity, moving it forward. I have no idea how long that was. No.
Figure out how they could be more like themselves, because that was the intention and the tone that was set, was how can you get more of you out of sitting down consistently every Wednesday night for a whole trimester. And throughout that 15 weeks, we would do exercises that really kind of allowed people to realize rawness that maybe they never experienced before. Because Darrell talked about the nature of innate intelligence being a very raw aspect of us. Because when sometimes we're communicating something that we've suppressed for so long, it has to come out a little bit violently at first. And then we tone it, and we harbor it, and we make it really clear and intentional. So Autumn created a space for us to be as expressive as we wanted to, so that way once we left the time with her, we would have something more in ourselves that was pure, clear, focused, grounded, graceful. So if there's anything that you take away from Autumn today, is knowing that inside of you is infinite, and she happens to be carrying some infinite inside of her. So I know that there is something really magical about to come out, and I just want you to, like Darrell, give a warm Parker welcome to Dr. Autumn Gore.
Last night I thought I was in the bathroom. I didn't tell my husband. I was like, oh, I think maybe my water broke, and I had peed myself a little bit. And like, it's such a good thing to pee right now. Like, you might not be at that place in your life, you may have already been in it, but there comes a moment in your life where the baby's so low you can't pee anymore. And so when I peed, I was like, oh, this is good. But anyway, it was my birthday yesterday, so I was like, oh, maybe I'll have this baby on my birthday. And then I just peed myself. So what I'm saying is, if you see something, it might not be the baby, and I'll step out and I'll just let it go. But to watch Darrell is emotional. But it's so sweet to see, because there was a moment where you see Darrell in his mental mind coming up and talking to you. He flew from California. It's intimidating to talk to anyone. It's intimidating definitely to talk interprofessionally, with each other, because we feel so much judgment. Like, maybe you know something I don't, and maybe you're going to judge what I'm going to say, and maybe you're not where I am. And so there's a lot of chatter inside of our head. Whether we've been out 15 years or 5 years, it doesn't matter. That doesn't really go away. But there was a moment in watching you speak, Darrell, where it switched off, where that mental chatter switched off, and then you were able to express what you came to say. It's really important what you came to say, because I didn't know what you were coming to say. I just knew to bring you to say. And that moment was where he said, how can we ask people or tell them our intention in your life is to help you freely express yourself, authentically be yourself. And there's some contradiction inside yourself where you're still not being yourself, where you're still being a version of someone else. And maybe a second-rate version of someone else. And like you said, there's a level of success to it. Financial success, financial abundance, the way people perceive you, lots of different things. But there's not that inner personal success where when you go to bed at night, I truly was the best version of myself today. And I know there's like so many buzzwords inside your head, and so many and then I told my husband earlier this week, I don't know how they'll perceive the pregnant lady cussing, because just because I'm pregnant, I'm still myself, I still cuss a little bit. And when I talk to y'all, I get so fired up because I wish someone would have given me a little more permission to come out and be myself when I got out. So if I cuss and I'm pregnant, just don't tell anyone. Don't tell my mom. She's not here. But when I first got out and practiced, I didn't know the definition of success. I knew Jim Parker's definition of success, and it's a beautiful definition of success. And I didn't know a lot of personal definitions for myself. The difference between the version of myself that graduated in 2003 on this stage, we used to graduate on this stage. So we would come up, like all the graduates would be upstairs right here, and we would walk through, and there were these, like a white sheet, or maybe it was a white piece of paper, and you'd step in front of it, and they'd say your name, and then there'd be a silhouette of you. Okay. So, it was like this super silhouette of you, then you'd come down the stairs, and you'd come into here. And I was pregnant then also. Like, I'm not the pregnant lady. And I'm not really into like, everyone thinks my practice is like pregnancy and kids, and it's not. It's a community practice. I'm going to talk about that today too. But I was super, like way more pregnant than I am right now. Even though like, this is like Amy David, that baby was a 10-pound baby. So he was huge. And I was standing right there, and they projected my thing in that middle window. And everyone knew it was me because I was just like, and I was scared shitless. Like, I was scared shitless because my life was out of control. I did not want to be pregnant. I did not want to be a mother. I did not want to be in the relationship I was in. I did not want anything in my life at that moment. And I did not know how to be a chiropractor. And I'm not saying it as like, oh, Parker let me down. Parker didn't let me down. Parker gave me what they told me they would, which was a degree and an ability to get a license. And I'm so happy Parker gave me that. But I walked down those stairs not knowing who I was. Knowing, I would say was principal. I ran the philosophy club. I ran everything philosophical you possibly could at school. But I only knew other people's understanding, definition, and expression of it. I had read everything you could read. I had been to every seminar that was available. Every weekend I would do something. But I just didn't know it inside of myself. So I went to have that baby. And I'm going to tell you the story of two different births. Because I'm pregnant with a baby that you can see. I think you can see. I'm pregnant with the form you can see. And if you close your eyes, literally close your eyes this moment. You are pregnant, whether there's a baby inside of you, most of you, there's not a baby inside of you. You're pregnant with something. And the very first thing that comes to your head that you feel you're pregnant with, you're pregnant with. See what you're pregnant with, visualize it, taste it. I'm afraid to push it out. You can open your eyes. But I honestly believe we're designed to see pregnancy from the time we are old enough. You know, my daughter is 8 also, Darrell's sister's age. And she's seen more births, I can't even count how many babies she's seen. And she's not afraid of the process. And some of you have heard me talk about her before because she's not afraid of the process. But she's not afraid of the process of birthing anything inside of her. And there was a time in your life where you were not afraid of birthing anything inside of you. And maybe, I don't know what stopped you. Darrell said, you know, maybe someone told you you couldn't. Maybe you tried and you failed. Maybe you think you're genetically programmed for shit. I don't know. I don't know what makes you stop thinking that you are able to birth what's inside of you, but it is what we are here for. And as chiropractors, you have this really unique thing, because here we are for the philosophy day, philosophy night, whatever. So when I say, let me just say the name of someone. And then I want you to tell me what you think when I say this name. Like if I say Jesus Christ, like not in a crazy way, like Jesus Christ, Son of God. What comes to your mind? Maybe you need the microphones. Like if you come up with words to describe when I say Jesus Christ as a culture, what do we think would describe that person?
Compassion, Son of God, sacrifice.
Compassion, love, Son of God, someone said. Then you could say similar. Would say the name of Siddhartha, the Buddha. What comes to your mind? Like the immediate words that come to your mind, that your mind's programmed to think.
Like
Similar words, right? Honesty. But we can go through B.J. Palmer. We can go through, and you can do this in your own life. Like go through and look at and see what have I already given definitions to. What is that programmed into me to say? And then let's ask each other. Close your eyes and think of you're driving through your average town. You see a sign for a chiropractor, and it's like, what comes to your mind? Now, like Darrell said, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. You're in an unusual bubble at this moment. But if we ask the average public person, what do you think when you hear the word chiropractic? And much less when we go ask principled people, what do they think when they hear the word chiropractic? What comes out of your mouth? Fear. Cracking, fear. We go into the principle model, and just open your mind with me, because you may not agree with me today. You might agree with me today. You might agree with me today and hate me next month. You might hate me next year. Who knows? But keep your mind open to what I want to tell you today. The average person in the public, and this is not new to you, you ask them, you say the word chiropractic, and they grab their spine. And they think about neck pain, and think about back pain. They don't grab their vagina. They're not like baby, like, because people associate me and chiropractic with babies. That's not the average person is thinking. They're not thinking potential. They're not thinking, okay, so then we'll go into the principled side. And I am getting this from my own family who's experiencing chiropractic in a principled way. And now what word do they leave the office with, knowing? It's supposed to be there. Subluxation. This is a scary conversation to have. Because what I would love, this is what makes my office turn. This is why there were nearly 20 new people that called our office this week, and I'm not telling you this so you kiss my ass and love me. I'm telling you this because when Darrell tells you, if you go out there and discover what is authentically yourself, and it is so fired up inside of you that people ask you what is propelling you, like what is making you happen, and they can feel it from you. I have not done anything to advertise my office in the last 10 years outside of the relationships I've built with people, and outside of, if I were to ask them, what do you get out? We ask the clients and we ask the people we take care of, what do you receive from the Cafe of Life? What do you feel here? And if you've ever heard me speak, what do you get from me? I hope you get innate love. I hope you know when I come today, I'm going to tell you about innate. And I'm going to tell you about the expression of innate. I'm going to spend 99% of my time talking about the potential rather than the problem. And that's where we've gone with the philosophy of chiropractic. So Darrell so eloquently gave us the universal principle, the major premise. And so it's where all chiropractors were birthed out of, and then philosophy seems to be what split us the most. Similar to the church, the church has, in whatever religion you're a part of, these beautiful ideas are birthed, and then they're segmented by people's perception of reality, people's perception and the way they live out reality. I told my 19-year-old stepdaughter last week, we were talking, and she has this perception of reality, and I said, there's the reality, there's everything that's going on. And there was this car wreck going on. There's the perception of the person that was driving it. There's the perception of the person that was in the back seat. There's the perception of the person that was hit. There's the perception of the person that was in a building and watched it happen. There is this reality of what's happening, and there's everyone's perception of what happened. And everyone is right in their own right about their perception of it. And so as chiropractors, we go out, we have this perception of the reality, and we tell everyone, this is it, this is it, this is it, this is what I've been exposed to. And then it segments us, and we're like, oh, these are my people, these are my people, these are my people, these are my people. And as a chiropractor, my office is a community-based chiropractic center. It's not a family-based chiropractic center, because that word means certain things to certain people, just like success means certain things to certain people. It's community because I want you all to be invited. Just because you're pregnant doesn't make you special. I mean, it's special, but it doesn't make you any more special than your spine or your spine or your spine. And so my purpose doesn't change based on the client and wherever they're coming from. My place is the same. And that's what makes our office really unusual, and that's what I invite you to come find in yourself. That's why we have held that space for so many years. It has different outcomes, but my purpose is the same, because I know I live my life from that principle, not as a chiropractor. I live my life from that principle as a human being. Now, I know there's a universal intelligence inside of me and inside of all matter, and how I know that right now is because this person is inside of me. And so it's easy for you to see the form of it right now, but once the baby is out of me, there's still a person inside of me, there's still a being inside of my human, it's expressing itself through my nervous system. And that's what I want to make sure every person that comes inside of our office knows. And if you get hung up in telling them where it's gone wrong, that's all they're going to hear. They're going to come to you because they're afraid of what might happen if they don't, instead of they're excited about what might happen if they do. That's where I'm coming from today. So I want to know what your questions are, like not who's bold enough, but like, where are you as a group of students? Where are you as people about to graduate? Where are you as people that are out? And what contradictions are in your head? Because the major contradiction I graduated with and came out fiercely with was that there was this universal intelligence in all matter, and the body was running itself, regulating itself, but it made subluxation, and it fucked up when it did that. And so I went out and educated people for a good 4 or 5 years about subluxation being an assailant, almost like the flu. Like almost like something you caught and something that had to be annihilated, rather than something that had to be worked with and expressed and owned. And so a friend of mine, Ed Osborne, do you know the chiropractic philanthropist? You listen to his tapes. His mom died on Tuesday, and he moved to Vancouver on Monday. And he left the town and everything where they were from. And the next day his mom died, just 2 days ago. And we were talking about it yesterday. And I told him the only thing I could say, because my husband's best friend died like last week, 2 weeks ago. Also, we had all this death in our life in the last month as we prepared to meet this baby. And I told Ed yesterday, like, there's nothing I can do to take away your pain. There's nothing we can add to you, like from the principled chiropractic place of right now. There's nothing I can do to stop that pain, and it's easy to see in this moment. But I can bear witness to it with you and hold the space for you to heal. And he had messaged me last night saying how it had been the most impactful thing he had been told since she died, was that I was willing to sit with him in his pain without trying to change it until he had digested it. And if you as a chiropractor can go into your client's life and know this is a very long-term relationship, and I did not put the symptoms and the pain and the dysfunction that you're experiencing inside of your body, that your choices, wanted or unwanted, did that. And like Darrell said, we're gonna have to change the way you think, which is change the way you make choices. And the only way you'll change the way you make choices if you figure out why you're making the choices that you are. And that's what the space on Wednesday night was about for so many years, was not to say, let me tell you the choices to make, was to say, has anyone ever given you the space to sit in your life? And first of all, look and say, there was 1 week where I had these students, Darrell, Jarrett, and Levi, stalk themselves for an entire week. And for a day, I was like, I want you to write down every single choice you make. And they thought I was insane. And the week after that was even like further insane. I was like, every decision you make, every thought you have that you can log and stalk yourself, we would call it, I want you to stalk it all. The what. And so for a solid week, as much as they possibly could, they recorded what they did. And then the next week when we sat down, it was, can we start to try to figure out why you made those decisions? Because your philosophy, your principle as a human being is run through that filter that creates the why. And if you can explain to the people that you take care of why, not what we do, they know what we do. They know we crack bones. And you know what I mean by that. Like, they know what's going to happen when they come into your office. And whether you are a network practitioner or a Thompson practitioner, a torque release technician, or whatever you call it, you don't even touch them. But if your purpose is to help them integrate the subluxation within the spine, they know what you do. They don't always know why you do it. And that's where Darrell is saying, take the time to explain to people why you do it. And it's not because subluxation is in their spine fucking their world. It's because innate is inside their spine waiting to radically express who they are. That's why we adjust newborn babies. That's why we adjust pregnant mamas. That's why we adjust people in their 90s. That's why we adjust athletes. We adjust every single person that will walk through our door. We adjust single men who are like, we're always trying to hook them up with single pregnant ladies. Secretly, I am. Like, this is perfect. That's what we're doing. That's my other part of my office is a total matchmaker thing. You know, I'm always trying to hook people up. Which is, I mean, the board, like, it was the big, but you know, like, I'm always like, you guys, anyway. But I'm telling you that because the why that everyone seeks care at Cafe of Life eventually becomes the same. Initially, they all think they're walking through the door for one reason. Because, like, we've got a list, this and this and this and this and this, and, you know, it's all this. Initially. And maybe they'll stay for a little bit of time, but if we hold the space inside of ourselves as this is why we're here, eventually the people that are left are here for that reason too. And what I have discovered over the years, we were laughing yesterday because there was literally someone who would get adjusted 3 to 5 times a week, meningitis nemesis, sweet lady. But like there are people who love what you do so much, like you kick them out the door. Some of them are so mechanistic in their thinking, in their why. And my job is not to say, I'm here, because think about how long it took us to come to this level of thinking. Like like Darrell, you were saying when you went to the student clinic and you were like, why are you asking me this? What does this have to do with anything? You had been in school for quite some time at that moment. I had been out of school, pushed out a baby, and I'm going to tell you that story because it's pretty epic. But I'll tell you in just a second. Remind me to tell you. But it all goes back to the why. And the why is not subluxation, it's deeper than that. Because I want you to, and the why is beyond the chemical, physical, and emotional stress inside of their body. Because some of it's wanted and some of it's unwanted. And if you go one step deeper, then the physical, chemical, and emotional stress or experiences that come into people's system and say, why are they there? Sometimes it's completely unavoidable and it just has to be integrated. But sometimes it's because your level of thinking and choices are putting it inside of your system anyway. On purpose. You're bringing these inside of yourself for a purpose. And me simply praying off of how you should eat, how you should move, what you should do, what you should be thinking, and telling you to think those things does not transform or elevate your level of consciousness. So that's what these chiropractors coming down to my office are experiencing. It's not me telling you to do it like me. It's me telling you, God, and someone said, Darrell said, everyone wants to be on him. No, you don't, because I am batshit crazy. Like, you do not want to be me. I am crazy. So sometimes, and my life is crazy. So sometimes we're like, I was like, no, you don't want this. You think you want this, you don't want this. Because this comes with a lot of other crazy. I'm just like you. It comes with a lot of other crazy. But what I can tell you is I am genuinely successful in my own life, in my own practice, and that's what people are attracted to. They're not attracted to the way I practice. They're not attracted to mamas and babies. They're not attracted to the aesthetic of the way the office looks. They're attracted to the fact that they know, because when I'm around you, I love myself enough to somehow ignite, like you told me, you love yourself more than before I put my hands on you. And your voice is back. And that was like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, when we spent 20 minutes together. And I didn't have anything magic for you, other than to remind you that the magic was within you. So that's what I'm coming here for. So the birth of the baby. Zaylin, 10 pounds, Zaylin that came down here. So I did not call myself a mother the whole time I was pregnant with him. I didn't use the word mama, I was 22. I did not want to be pregnant with him. And as I was pushing him out, I was at my midwife's house because I was living with friends in the interim of, I don't know what I was doing, I graduated from Parker. And so I went to my midwife's house, it was midnight, and I was like, it was a struggle. I've seen so many people deliver since then that this was a mega struggle. And about 2:30 in the morning, I started to push. And I delivered him at 5:30 in the morning, which most of my clients now, as we watch them, they push an hour or less, way less. And so I pushed him out, and his pubic bone got stuck. His clavicle got stuck on my pubic bone, which is called shoulder dystocia, which at the hospital is called, holy shit, it's hit the fan. Like, it's really bad. But I'm 22, and I'm like, I'm yelling, but I'm not thinking, oh my God, I'm not thinking, no one's letting me know it's that big of a deal. And then there's this small Jewish woman, and it's the Jewish New Year. He was born in the Jewish New Year, and she's like this tall. And she is up on top of me, pushing his shoulders, claps the cord to bring him through. And I think this is how births go. I don't know. I think this is how they get them out, because I haven't seen them get them out. So anyway, through the epic push of getting this baby out, the pain of having to integrate getting him out, he comes out, and I look at him, and I'm like, Mama's here! Mama's here! Like, a baby came through my vagina, but a mother came through my heart. And a mother came through my heart because of the pain that I experienced. Because of the struggle that I experienced. And when you get out of school, do not be afraid to struggle. Do not be afraid, like Darrell, to step up here and be like, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about, that I got on a plane, because I just wanted to come and share it with you. Also, don't be afraid to be radically successful. But don't be afraid of the process, because there are people here to support it, and they cannot fast forward it for you. That's what vitalism means. That's what being a chiropractor for me means, is I am going to accept the natural processes of life and hold the space for you to go through them and integrate them as easily as possible, but I can't hit fast forward for you. I cannot make your birth process, no matter what you are birthing, happen faster. We can just make sure it doesn't happen slower than it has to, because you've created all this shit in your head that tells you you can't do it. That's what subluxation is. It's you were not able to integrate, you were not able to adapt in the moment because you were already doing so much. And if you think about yourself in your life right now, what if I were to ask you to take one more class? Or do one more thing? Or push out a 10-pound baby?
No.
Or get a dog? I don't know, like, do anything. I know you guys are maxed out, because I visit with so many of you. You guys are maxed out on what your body is able to integrate at this moment. And when you get out of school, that's not going to change. And your average client you meet, that's not going to change. Unless you guys are planning to move to Farmtown, USA, which I contemplate occasionally. Like every 4 days. I've been in Farmtown. The Amish people are just totally pieced out right now. And they're not having to go this fast. They're not driving home thinking, oh my God, don't kill me, coming out of CVS. You know what I'm thinking? Like the stuff the simple things we don't even think about, that our nervous system has to integrate on a daily basis. It is not going to stop coming inside of you because you graduate. You're going to birth something different. You're going to birth a chiropractor here, then you're going to go birth a business owner, you're going to birth a wife, a husband, a mother. Way beyond that, you're going to birth different versions of yourself every single year. And if you don't keep your body clear and find out, why am I putting experiences inside of myself that I could choose not to? How can I prevent this? You don't change the why of what you're doing. You don't give yourself the opportunity to elevate your consciousness. Then you don't give your practice the opportunity to go there with you. So I chose to have Zaylin with no drugs. I called that natural. That birth I just described to you, I called that shit natural. I chose not to vaccinate him. I chose not to, I can't think of any chemical involved. I chose no sonograms. I chose everything you possibly could, because I was terrified of what all those things might do to my baby. I was terrified of what sonogram waves might do to my baby, what forceps could do to my baby, terrified of what the hospital and the devils that work there could do to my baby. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, you know that feeling of what I'm talking about? And then I birthed him, and I had to integrate the experience. It takes a long time. It takes several years. And I go and I'm pregnant with his sister. And they're 4.5 years apart. And because at that point, and this is a whole nother visit where I could tell you about opening my practice and clearing the contradictions out of it to come to what was right for me, what was successful for me, to where I wasn't only financially abundant, but I was emotionally abundant. And I knew I didn't have to call anyone and ask them for permission to what to change. I knew innately what to change. So I go to birth Kaya. And I decided with Kaya a similar birth story. But what I thought was natural, innately right, is what natural means to me at this point. Just because I chose drug-free did not mean it was natural. Because I needed my midwife's permission on when to push Thalen out. I needed a lactation consultant's permission. How do I get him on? Like, I needed so many people to tell me I was doing the right thing and how to do it. And I was so freaked out about my body and I was so terrified of all of these things that there was nothing natural about it. And you'll meet these people that come into your practice and they're so natural, but they are crunchy, terrified about everything. They're like, did you know what they put in those strawberries? Like, do you know what's inside of that? Do you know what's inside of that? And they're so afraid they're not experiencing anything because everything might poison them or ruin their life or ruin their baby. So fast forward to Kaya, I go to deliver Kaya. I'm in a much different place because I have already almost failed in practice and it wasn't that bad. And you don't have to do this. You don't have to fail in practice. But I watched my car get towed away. And I called Quinn. My best friend Quinn, who's worked in my office for the last 12 years. And I was like, yeah, my car just got towed away and thinking I'm gonna move to my grandparents' farm. And like I had this whole plan. This was 8 years ago. Since then now there's 4 chiropractors that work in our office because I found myself. And I wasn't anywhere, I was here. So all of this happened, I lost everything I thought I was, and I was left. The being inside of my human was left. That was what was left when there was nothing else left. And once I felt that and touched that, I could not shut my mouth up. Like Darrell said, he had to find a way to tell everyone about it. I could not tell you because then I was like so insanely alive. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't stop myself from telling you what made me alive. And I started telling, what the crazy part about my office is I started telling MDs what I do and what made me insanely alive. And it turned out their why was the same. They wanted some of it too. And at this moment in time, our practice is probably 80% MD referral. And I came out of school like I was using the devil word, using I hate you, using you're gonna kill my baby. And I've learned to explain to them from the purest place on the planet what we do and how it has nothing to do with what they do. It has nothing to do with pain or dysfunction in a way of treatment is what they do. It has to do with the expression of life. So when I pushed Kaya out, I was not afraid if I needed a drug. I was not afraid if I needed a C-section. I was not afraid. I was not afraid of what could come into her because I knew she had the intelligence inside of her to integrate it if she needed to. I wasn't anti-vaccine. I was pro-innate inside Kaya. I wasn't like, oh, I don't want you to vaccinate my baby because the shit you're putting in it. I was like, I want you to vaccinate my baby because of the life that's inside of her. My paradigm had totally shifted, and I pushed her out with maybe 3 pushes into the water, into my own hands. With no one's permission. And in fact, Quinn and I were talking about the other day, I didn't even tell anyone I was pushing. I just bent down, pushed down, I could feel her head going. I was like, maybe I'm gonna trick them. Because I didn't want anyone to see. I was like, what if I poop in the water? Like, y'all are gonna know the crazy stuff you push your baby out. And I was like, I don't want anyone, and I was pushing her out, and Quinn said I was like in a trance, pushing her out. And me and her were so synced up because it was natural. Both births were drug-free. One of them was natural. One of them was innately right for me, the innate right timing with my trust in the right place, not my fear in the wrong place. So when you get to step into practice, that's the one piece I just would invite you to leave at the door is fear. Your own fear and the fear you might inject inside of people. And that's something you have to clear out before you open your doors. Because whatever is inside of you, you're not going to trick people by like, oh, it's nice to say, well, I checked it at the door. It's impossible to check yourself and your relationship with yourself at the door. Get clear with yourself. Get clear with your understanding of who you are and your definition of success, your definition of subluxation, your definition of the philosophy of where we come from. Get clear with those things, and it's nobody's damn business what your definitions of those things are. right, you're kind of giving me like anyway, it might be tonight, y'all. I'm feeling it. But that's what I tell my mamas, and that's what I tell you, like as a chiro doula for you. It's nobody's business how you want to practice. It's your business with yourself, and you're going to feel whether you're in congruence or not. You'll feel it inside. And like the way we came up with our fee system at our office is I said, I need you to look in your face. I need to look him in his face. In case an Indian comes in, I need to look in Kevin's face. In case a black person comes in, I need to look, like, just kidding. Our office has everyone under the sun works there. I was like, I need to be able to look into whoever's face they are, however much money they make, whether they have children, whether they have insurance, whatever they do, and say, this is how much it costs to come get adjusted at our office, and this is the way we do it. And until I could look in your face and say it without hesitation, I wasn't at the right place. And that was nobody's business, and that was not something anyone could advise me on how to do. That's what I mean by, and that's what Darrell means by authentically being yourself. You all know the infinite value of chiropractic. You all know that the purpose of chiropractic is to reunite man the spiritual with man the physical, and there is no price tag you can put on that. For the self-liberation that comes through you when you can express yourself fully, you know there's no price tag. You know that. So when you come to the table and tell them that, they know that's behind your words, and you tell them this is how much it costs to receive care here, that is something you get to come up with. That is not regulated by the board. What you tell them about subluxation is not regulated by the board. When I got to meet Cynthia Tays down in Austin, she's the president of the board down there, and I was so freaked out because she was there. I was speaking, and I was like, oh shit. No one told me the board president is just like sitting right where you are, So the whole time I start going, and then my mouth opens up, and like I'm birthing something. I wasn't even pregnant then. And then afterwards she starts to come up to me, and I was like, oh, here it goes. 9959, that's my license number. And Dallas said, I was like, I don't know what she's gonna say. And she hugged me, and she was like, how can we bring that to every chiropractor in Texas? How can we do that? How can we give them permission to do it their way? This was like last year. And for me, it was a moment to say, I can open my mouth and tell you. Because I know what I'm telling you is legal. I know what I'm telling you is ethical. And I know what I'm telling you will set you free. That's all I want, is for you to be radically free in your life, in chiropractic, and have support. And we will hold the space for you. And by we, I mean us that are out there, us that have been out there 4 and 5 years, us that are going to get out there in 6 months. You have to rely on each other to say, this is where I am. I'm willing to start where I am to get to where I want to go. And if you can't start where you are, accept where you are, that's where Jim and I differ. He would say, act as if, and I would say, be who you are. Start where you are. Start exactly where you are. Be honest about that. And then you have the space to develop into who you want to become. If you can't be honest with yourself about who you are and where you need to develop, then you can't get the help that you need. So the help is there, but more importantly, the support is there to hold the space for you to be uncomfortable, like I told Ed. You can be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's the when you say, what makes chiropractic unique is our philosophy. There's lots of professions that hold the space for that, and they can become great referral sources for you. But there's a principle of human beings that either come from, I'd rather not feel and express what's inside of me, or I'd rather start to do that. And when I read, you guys have all read at this point, that woman, she was a hospice nurse from Australia, and she wrote about the 5 deathbed regrets that everyone has. You've read this story. I'm sure most of you have. If you haven't, it's easy to Google. The 5 deathbed regrets that the vast majority of her cancer patients that were passing had. And the very first one that all these people fucking dying say is, I wish I would have expressed myself authentically. At the end of their life, they're like, I wish I would have been more of myself. I wish I would have been more of myself. When we're dying, we're thinking, I wish I would have been more of myself. And there's nothing I can give you as a chiropractor just further along in the journey than you to say, you can be yourself. No one knows the right way. We have ways, and like Darrell said, we have footprints, but we don't know the right way for you. We don't know the right way for you to get this baby out. But we know something inside of you will tell you when you're pushing it out wrong. That's what symptoms are. They're feedback from the body to tell you, I'm going to tell you whether you like this or not. I'm going to tell you whether this is innately right for you or not. And to suppress symptoms suppresses expression. Whether it's through chiropractic, whether it's through people rubbing cream on you, whether it's through injecting you with some crap, whether it's through surgery. Mechanism is the suppression of symptoms and symptoms of the expression of life. So be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and we'll do you through it. And I'll let you guys know how the birth goes via, I don't know, Facebook live feed. I will tell you before I wrap up. I was supposed to speak at Danny Knowles' event, what's it called? Mile High, in Denver next week or a week after. And then I found out I was pregnant, after I had committed, and I was like, Danny, the baby is due the 23rd. And he was like, that's okay. Mile High's only 18. I was like, Danny, the baby's due on the 23rd. And so we all just thought, well, maybe I just fly up to Denver for the day and give the talk and then come back and have the baby. It turns out the baby's coming a little earlier. This one's coming a little earlier. Feels like it. So David Tran used to come to school here. I don't know if you guys even know him. If you don't, I would totally reach out to him because he's a promoter of chiropractic. He's up in Oklahoma City, and this radical, loving chiropractor. But he's going to run the MC and the music and all he does for Mile High. And they've asked me if I had the baby on the 18th during Mile High, would I do a live feed of the delivery? And I was like, if it works out to that moment where you guys are live there and I'm live here, yes, I will let you in. So, people watch on that. If you happen to be in Denver or this baby's not out, I did promise them that. But anyway, thanks for having me. Let me know what you need. My office is always open. There's always someone down there with questions, and there's nothing stupid or offensive you can ask. You can ask me anything you want to know. And you don't have to fully agree with me about anything to walk through that door. You just have to agree with me, like, that you're interested in more expression in your life. That's enough. That's all I need to know. So, I'll see you guys all somewhere soon.